Hi everybody, I'd like to talk about pendulums today, and I'll show you a few of mine. I have, this is just a plain quartz here, small, very lively pendulum. This is another crystal quartz. It's a little bigger and it's, it's a different shape. It's been cut and faceted. And I have a tiger eye. This one here. You can see that. So, they're basically all the same. It's a stone on a chain. And I have a very beautiful amethyst here as well. So, if you don't have a pendulum, that's no problem. You can use a pendant. So I have, a little pendant here, and it's really nothing special as far as the metal. It's just, there you go, like a cheap little pendant, right? But the way it's weighted, it works very well for me as a pendulum. So don't feel you have to go out and buy them. However, the ones that I have, are very inexpensive. And the most I think I've spent on a pendulum is about $6 perhaps. Okay, so if you haven't worked with one before, the idea is to, you're going to get a yes or no answer is what you're looking for if you're deciding on something. So if you haven't worked with one and you want to learn, one easy way to start is to just, get a little piece of paper and write yes on the paper, and get another piece and write no. And what you're going to do is, so you put the yes in your hand. Now that word yes is going to resonate with you in a certain way, and the pendulum will pick that up. So for me, a yes is always clockwise, and a no is counterclockwise. So what I do is I kind of, I always give my pendulum like a little swing, and then it will start a circular motion. So right now it's going clockwise because I'm holding the word yes. Now I don't hold it really tight, so if, I just kind of have a loose little grip there, and then let's do the no. And it will, hold the no, and it will start to swing. Now it is going counterclockwise. Okay, so for me that's how it works. The idea is to find out for yourself what type of direction. Some people it goes diagonal or in one direction or another. But that's an easy little exercise to get yourself started, to teach yourself how to use a pendulum. So some of the ways I use it as, well, certainly, at home, I have a lot of herbs and things like that. So, for instance, I pulled a couple out here. So, often there are many to treat one certain thing. So just as an example, suppose one night you're a little restless and you're not sleeping well, and you say, oh, well, which one should I try? The Avena sativa or the Jamaica dogwood? Now, Avena sativa is very mild, and you would hold that in your hand, and it's going to either say yes or no. Okay, well, that's a no for me. I don't need that. And then, but, I'm just giving an example here. And then you would try the other one and see if that's a yes or no. Now, in some cases, one will be yes, and that's a very clear answer. Sometimes maybe both will be yes. Then what you can do is put them both in your hand and see, oh, do I need a few drops of each? And then you're going to test that. So that's, it's really helpful because you just don't need to be taking the wrong thing, right? So you could, with herbs, suppose it's for someone else, your husband or wife, and then you would put it in their hand. So now they're holding it, and then you'll test, is it resonating with them? Is this what they need tonight or that day or night? So suppose somebody calls you. Suppose the person is not there, and they call you and say, oh, I can't sleep. Should I take Avena sativa or Jamaica dogwood or valerian or whatever? I'm just giving an example here. What do? Write their name on a piece of paper. Write their name out. And then, this is very effective. You write their name down, put it on the table, not in your hand. I'm just doing this to show you. So you would put their name on the table, put the item down right on that name. And then you get your pendulum and you test and you see which one do they need. Okay. Looks like my mother needs some Avena sativa. So look, I wrote the name, I wrote mom because, you know, we all have mom. Most of us have a mom, and that's what we call her. So you don't need to write your mother's name out. If it's mom to you, then that's what you write, and it's understood that that is your mom. If you understand what I mean there. So your mom, your dad, whatever. And if you, also a photo will work as well. So you can either write their name or use a photo, and you put the remedy or the herb or whatever that is on their photo or their name and test it yes or no. Like I said, very effective. Another way you can use your pendulum, and one way I use it often, is actually if I'm in a store, and there are many things I will test. So I always keep a pendulum with me in my bag, but also I have an old bracelet here, and I keep it hooked on, like I usually have it hooked around my bag here, the strap of my bag, and it kind of just hangs right on my bag. Okay, well, I think you get the idea. You know, it's just hanging there. So if I'm in a store, it's really easy for me just to unhook it from my bag and test. So what do I test? Almost anything. If I'm buying makeup, I will test the makeup. You'd be surprised how much just doesn't test well for you. Or for me, you know, I'm sure we're all going to have things that test good and not. I'm very particular about doing my best to find cruelty-free items. And you know, I don't buy a lot of high-end makeup, you know. There might be just one or two items that I'll spend a little more for. A lot of what I get, you know, I'm on a budget, right? But I will test my lipsticks, my eyeliners, whatever, anything I'm buying like that. If you're spending, you know, your money, you want to know, is this going to work for me? Now, I'm testing the quality or the ingredients for that to work with me. I'm not testing, oh, do I want this color or not? Because that's just your decision to make, you know. So I test that. I test if I'm buying, when I am buying cat food, I test everything I buy. I do my best to buy good brands, and I buy and recommend grain-free as much as you can. Whether it's the kibble or the wet food, you want to look for grain-free is my recommendation, but again, that's up to you. But I test the cans, and I test the dry food as well. And again, it's surprising how much does not test well. Even some of those higher-end brands not necessarily testing well. So the other thing with that is a lot of those smaller, sort of better companies, they get bought up by larger companies. And then in time, the larger companies change the ingredients, add a little more sugar, or just degrade the ingredients. So I test every single time I go and buy that cat food. Every time I go. And it does sometimes change. So that's one way. Also, food I'm buying for myself, especially some of the more expensive items like olive oil. You know, again, so surprising what doesn't test well these days. Some of the laws have changed, and especially here in the States. So I don't know. I won't get into all that, but you know, the quality regardless of the label. It's just not the way it had been. And the word organic in legal sense now does not have the same meaning it once did. Again, at least here in the States. So expensive items like olive oil or things like that I'll test, or you know, whatever, or if I'm just not sure, you know, oh, how is this going to be for me, I'll test it. So there's two ways you can do that. Now, if you have a family and you just want to test in general, you know, how something is, you lay it in the basket and you can test and get a yes or a no. But if it's something particularly that for you that you're going to consume, then you'll want to hold it in your hand and test it yes or no for yourself. Okay, so you know, these these ways, this idea of testing really kind of will save you money. And another way that I've done this successfully is testing when I'm going to buy something online. So even with clothing, I have tested when someone gave me a gift card to BB online, and I wasn't sure what size. I knew the item I wanted to buy, and I was not sure what size I wanted to get. So what I did was I wrote the item down and the size. Then I wrote it once again below that, the item name and the size. And then I would just put my finger on what I wrote, okay? And then I tested it with the pendulum. And then I tested the other one, what I wrote with the size with the pendulum. Now it was really interesting because I was so sure it was going to be one size, but the pendulum kept showing me another size. Now that was the first time I had tried that. That was a few years back. And I didn't listen to the pendulum. And the pendulum was right. So that size the pendulum kept showing, the yes, was the right size. And I actually had to exchange it because I didn't listen the first time. But, you know, you live and learn. And that was a good lesson for me. So if I'm buying online, even some of my oracle or occasionally tarot decks, if I'm really just not sure, you know, I will write it out and see, does that resonate with me? And I've had an instance, there are 2 Blue Angel decks that I was considering buying, and they're popular. I've seen nice reviews on them, and every time when I write them out, both of them test negative for me at this time. And you know, and that I first tried that about 6 months ago, and I let some time pass. I tested again, and still testing no. So to me, that's great. That's saving me some money. Now, perhaps in another 6 months, maybe they'll test yes. I don't know. But even for books and other things too, when I was looking to buy an ukulele a couple of years back, and there was just nowhere around here for me to get one, so I was looking online, and there were 2 particular models I was looking at. I was kind of sure, I thought I wanted one, but this other one really tested well for me, and this is the one, you know, I wound up getting this other one, and I'm very happy with it. But I won't torture you with the cacophony that comes out of that sometimes. But, you know, it was really great for me, that was really helpful. And this happened to be one that was a little cheaper, and I really love it. So those are some ways you can use your pendulum, and in a very effective way once you get used to it. Okay, another way that what you can do is, if you've misplaced an item in your home, you can, once again, you can write out on a piece of paper. You can write the rooms out. You know, you write kitchen, bedroom, living room. Put your finger on it and test with a pendulum. That works for me sometime, not always, but it's still worth trying. Another way you can use a pendulum is if you have other crystals, and you just, say you want to clear a crystal. So I have just a little crystal here, and you can just hold a pendulum over the crystal and let it spin, and it will clear a crystal. I don't often feel that I need to do that, but it's a nice thing to do on occasion. But of course, another way to charge or clear your crystals is just laying them in the sun. Except for, you know, if you have amethyst or citrine, that it's not good really to lay them in the sun, because the sun can fade those. But the clear quartz, certainly you can lay in the sun, or of course cold water. There are many ways, you know, you can search on that. Some people like salt. I really like the cold water, and I like the sun. Certain crystals, certain types of stones, I also, you know, the moonlight is nice as well. And another way you can work with crystals is just, if you have natural stones like this one here, you know, you can just meditate with those. So they're kind of pulling double duty. They're a pendulum and you know, a wonderful stone to meditate with. This amethyst here, I like to use this particular one to clear other crystals, because when I meditate with this, it really gives a beautiful message of kind of like cleaning out the corners and cleaning things, even things that nobody would see. So I like that, and I thought because that message comes through on this one, I like this particular one for clearing other pendulums and other crystals. So that is my pendulum story, and I really hope that you like that, and maybe that will help you. So go forth and pendulate, and it will help you choose well. Bye now.